very good evening and a warm welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us tonight for another edition of the show. And tonight we speak about little people. Dwarfism is a short stature that results from a genetic or medical condition. Dwarfism is generally defined as an adult height of 4 feet 10 inches, that is 147 centimeters or less. The average adult height among people with dwarfism is 4 feet, but many different medical conditions cause dwarfism. But to join us for this conversation and perhaps to explain all of this better for us is Asha Namatovu, who is the fifth born of 14. Asha is a little person and she is 36 years old. I hope your classmates won't mind that I've said your age, but you gave me permission to say it.
They'll forgive me.
They'll forgive you. Asha,
Yes.
it's good to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for hosting me.
Yeah, so while we start our conversation, I think one of the things to just make clear and get out of the way is the conversation on how we should refer to you. I know there's a lot of people who are uncomfortable with being called, you know, a dwarf, and then I know the word, certain words have been taken out. So I want you to just make it very clear to us what is okay and what is not.
Okay. Referring to maybe my condition, you can say little people or little person. You can also say a person of short stature.
Okay.
A person with dwarfism. There are some communities that accept the word dwarf, but I'm realizing that the Ugandan little people don't appreciate using that time, much as it is acceptable on the international scene. There are words that are considered derogatory and offensive, like the word midget. We do not use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speak to me about yourself and basically your life. Let's get to know you first. Tell me about yourself.
So my name is Asha Namatov. I'm named Asha after my paternal grandmother. She was called Asha. Come from a family of 14 kids. I'm the fifth child. I also have a brother called Mate who has dwarfism, our firstborn. I'm an accountant by training. I work with my family, family business, a transport company called Swift Safaris. I run the finance and administration side. I also have my side hustles of doing business consulting,
Okay.
and internal audit for different organizations.
All right. You mentioned that you have a brother, Martin?
Mate.
Mate.
Yeah, it's short for Matovu.
Oh.
He's named after my grandfather, so they call him Mate. Like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were your parents little people as well?
No. Both my parents were average height. My father is deceased now. My mother is around. But my parents had half siblings with dwarfism on either side. We believe that the gene comes from my grandfathers on either side, meaning that my parents carried the defective gene and they passed it on to me and Mate. You cannot be for certain who passed it on. We don't know that it was our mother or it came from our other side. It could not have been both, because if you have a double copy of the defective gene, it will be fatal. The child cannot survive if it's called dominant. So it's a recessive gene. So I just have a copy from one of the parents, and he also has a copy from one of the parents. But the people with dwarfism who do not have any family with dwarfism, any history in their family. So the commonest type of dwarfism is called achondroplasia. And most people with achondroplasia have average height parents. And you find that when you find one person, only just one person, within an entire family with dwarfism, most likely it's going to be achondroplasia. What causes dwarfism is a genetic mutation, which happens before conception. It's either the sperm or the egg. A change happens, which leads to the child having dwarfism. But you cannot be so sure where it comes from. Unfortunately, society always thinks it has come from the mom.
Mother, yeah.
Yeah.
When you speak about, you said that different types of dwarfism, could you help teach us a bit more, because we're learning from you, about the different types that you know about? For example, your type.
My type is called osteogenesis imperfecta. When I was born in the 80s, they could not easily diagnose, and up to now, they could not easily diagnose a child with dwarfism. So when you'd be born, they would know at birth. But right now, because the science is much developed, they can know when someone is pregnant, that they are going to carry a child who has dwarfism. And like in the States, the parents have a choice whether they want to have this child or they don't want.
Yeah.
But when my mother gave birth to me, she says, it's apparently my grandparents realized that I was different. But my mom says she realized that about maybe 8 months, 1 year, because I was not progressing at the same level as the other kids that were born at the same time like me.
What
So
number do you come in the 14 children?
I'm number 5.
Number 5. Oh, okay.
And the second person and the last person with dwarfism. We've not had any other cases. My siblings, some of my siblings have kids, and none of them has passed it on to their children.
So how did your grandparents know before your mom?
Because where my mother was married, my father's side, my father had a half-sister called Jane, and Auntie Jane was a little person. And she was younger than my dad, but slightly younger. And then, of course, my mom also had a half-sister called Hadija, who was my mother's elder sister. And then again, my brother Mate was a little person. So by the time I came along, they could kind of, like, I think, figure out some of the signs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's different about your type of dwarfism from the other types? Because I told you earlier when I met you, I didn't understand. So
I'm not your typical little person, because the type of dwarfism that I have what they call disproportionate dwarfism. Dwarfism is divided into 2 types: proportionate and disproportionate. People with proportionate dwarfism, it means the person has like a small trunk and limbs which are short, so the person is in the right proportions. Those are the very little people, I think. Then people with disproportionate, like myself, we have an average size trunk, meaning like my trunk is like an average person's, but I have shorter limbs. My legs and my arms are shorter. With osteogenesis imperfecta, it means that I have brittle bones. My bones break easily. However, for the different types of dwarfism, most types are common with orthopedic or bone problems, but not all of them. For example, I have even little friends, women who have no health issues, 0. They're as healthy as a horse. They're just little. So not all of us have issues with our bones, but there are things which are common, which include the brittle bones, or not necessarily brittle bones, but a curved spine. Yeah. So they will need surgery to, as we grow older, we might need the surgeries to control that. Sometimes when the children are born, they have the big heads, hydrocephalus, so where these days they drain out the fluid. We have breathing problems, most of us, but minus that. And ear infections among the children, and some other few challenges. And most of these things, someone outgrows them as they get older, except of course the bones. And because we are short, it means our long bones, like the femur, which the bone like in the thigh, is much shorter, is what actually makes us much shorter. Okay. And because it is short, and some of us, the makeup, the composition of the bone is not like the normal bone. For example, in my case, I've been told by my surgeons, when they were doing one of my surgeries, they found out that my bone is completely sealed. You know, a bone is like a pipe. It has a hollow part in between. Mine is completely like a tree trunk. So when it breaks, it's like as you cut off a tree. Wow. But this is me, and it's not common with everyone.
When you speak about how brittle your bones are, is this why you're in a wheelchair?
Yes,
most
definitely. Of the time? I've been getting fractures since I was a child. So I got used to them, if I can call it that. But as I've grown older, when I would have the fractures, the bones started not joining as well as they did in the past. So right now, I use the wheelchair to protect me from having more fractures. and to maintain a sense of independence that with the wheelchair I can move about, I can do different things. Vis-a-vis having to lie maybe on a couch or staying in my bed. So the wheelchair helps me to move. I can stand on a walking frame, you know, those things with four legs. Yeah, that's what I use. And I use it to maybe to go to the bathroom, to get on the bed, get into the car, get out of the car. But predominantly moving, the wheelchair are the legs.
You were speaking to me earlier about how a lot of little people struggle with weight.
Yeah.
And that clearly does not help when you have brittle bones.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it has made my case a whole lot worse because my weight cannot easily support. My weight strains my joints and, of course, the bones. Because of our height, you know, when they are measuring like obesity, they look at the height versus the weight. So for me and people with dwarfism, that measurement is a bit skewed. It would mean that because of my height, I should have me like of a child, because my height is like of a 6-year-old. But my stomach is not for a 6-year-old.
That's true.
So yeah, so I struggle with weight. I've really struggled with it, and it is something that I've actually just starting to embrace. I've always been chubby even as a child, and some people with dwarfism struggle with weight more when they're older than when they are young, like at my age going forward. But for me now, this is probably also a genetic issue. Most members of my family, it's not an excuse, but most of us are on the heavy end of the scale, so that has not helped, and then I'm predisposed to gaining more weight because of the dwarfism. So yeah, it's making a bad situation worse.
When you say you're predisposed to gaining more weight because of the dwarfism, just let me understand that.
There are studies ongoing about why people with dwarfism have become obese, but they're not conclusive. They don't really know that it's something in our genetic makeup that makes us maybe not burn down food as faster as the average person. But again, like you said, most of us cannot move fast because of the strides that we take, because of the short legs. You don't take those much fast strides. You're not as physical as the average person. Bearing in mind that the people with dwarfism who don't have any issue, so they're athletes who have dwarfism and swimmers and doing different things. But because the particular types of dwarfism don't have a problem with their bones.
I mean, when
so
I think
they
about
are
your
more
bones
active.
now, and
so with my bones, it would help if I could figure out how to balance these portions and also keep off the weight. So it's something that I struggle with personally, but does not define all the other people with dwarfism.
Would have loved to see pictures of you when you were younger, but Asha told me earlier that when she was younger, she was camera shy. I'm so glad you've come out of that and you're able to actually speak on camera.
Like I said, mostly it has always been for me, being different is really difficult.
Yeah.
So I come from a Muslim family. You know how large our families are. And being different, we're about just 4 people in maybe about 350 people who look different. So it was hard for me initially to really like take pictures and embrace myself the way I am now. I've not always been like this. I was confident, I want to say, but not as embracing of who I am and my disability and being different and loving it and being proud of it. So I don't have those many pictures. I have some pictures, but not as much. I quite have a lot of pictures these days.
Okay, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
You find that a building is built, it has no ramp, it has steps which are high, there is no lift, whereby accessing the services within that building, it is a difficult thing to little persons. I can talk of the docks in courts. You find that these docks are put whereby if a little person enters within this dock, even if you want to be a witness, you cannot. You just stigmatize yourself because you cannot. When you enter into the dock, you cannot easily be seen. So you just sit back with the witness you have. The schools are far away, a distance from home. So accessing education is a difficult thing, where the parents cannot take you every day to school. Just look at a little person who is a mother expecting, going for antenatal care, accessing the labor ward. Most of the labor wards with the health centers are not accessible. There are no adjustable beds. Whereby if this person is to be checked, has to climb. And in most times our support is on the stomach. But imagine a little person, an expecting mother, holding a baby at the stomach, to climb using the stomach. That means that there will be a problem. So in that case, you may find that this person may be checked maybe on the ground, or if he is supposed to get an injection, will be made to lay on the ground, or be lifted, which is not good. Yes, it is a way of helping, but it undermines my maturity. So I believe that something has to be done by our government, our service providers, so that we are looked, we are considered as valued citizens who can add value to our community, to our country.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, the NTV Uganda studios. And tonight we are speaking to Asha Namatovu, who is a little person, and she's sharing with us her story and how she goes about life. Asha, how do you do things like bathing, cooking, and
When I was a child, my mother raised me to be as independent as I possibly could. And maybe that sheltered me a bit in terms of I really felt I was similar to my other siblings, similar to the kids I went to school with. In that, I did house chores as a child. I did my own washing, I think, from P4 going onwards. Right now, I don't do the washing really, but I used to know how to wash. I know how to cook, and I'm a very good cook. I do most of the things on my own. I just need assistance to pass me things, and maybe if I'm going to move, someone has to wheel me. When I'm at home, I use the frame to move the short distances. Okay. Like from here to there, I can easily go and pick the remote myself. But for other things, things that someone needs to reach for, things which are maybe higher, like maybe a dish in a cupboard in the kitchen, I can't reach for that, or a flask. Or I need something, maybe clothes from my closet. There is a section in my closet where I can reach the things, and then there are sections I can't reach the things. So someone has to just hand me the things. For other people who don't have to use a wheelchair, but they are little, they use like a step stool to reach for things. So they adapt to a higher height by having something they step on, then they can reach for their things. But I do most of my own things. I dress myself, I bathe on my own. Yeah, I can even iron my clothes.
Okay. What is your home like?
We kind of customize the things that I use. So my bed is really low, so that I can easily get on and off on my own.
Okay.
I have couches like in the house, like a particular one, that this is Asha's chair. Even someone who is average height can use it because my siblings use them, the kids use them. But I have a few things that are customized to my height, because if I sat in the average height chair like this one, then my feet will be dangling, and it causes like a numbness in my legs, which is common to other people with dwarfism, not just to me. So for me, I have about 3 couches in the house that are Asha's couches, but someone else who is average height also can use them. They are not that low actually. And then the light switches in the house are customized. They are on a lower height, like the height of the average wall socket height. My bathroom is customized. My toilet is customized.
Okay.
My house, the entryways and doorways are wide for the wheelchair. My wheelchair goes everywhere around the house, including to my closet.
Okay.
But that is because of me and because I've been lucky to do that. But the average person might not be able to customize the house to that. But then we have ramps around the house.
Okay.
We have ramps on my part of the house, okay, so that I can go anywhere on my own.
What was school like for you when you were growing up, the earlier years, and then as you progressed?
School, I loved school. School was really good for me in terms of going out to meet other kids, and I was smart in class, and I am a friendly person, so I have like lots of friends. I was like that popular kid. Okay, because maybe I was also different, but I thought because I was like funny. So yeah, I struggled with accessibility. Most schools are not designed for a little person. Most schools are not designed for a person with disabilities. So there would be stairs, and you get tired to climb the stairs. When I was young, I could walk on my own. Until around my senior six, I could walk on my own. And I would be off. I would use crutches in between when I had a fracture. I would use the elbow crutches, under the shoulder crutches. But as I've gotten older, I had to rely on the wheelchair. I would always have the wheelchair around, but I hated it.
Yeah.
So I struggled with accepting it for the longest time. I thought it was going to take away my independence and was going to make me not look so cool and smart and things like that. But I've gotten around it. I've used it most of my adult time for about 15 years consistently. So I'm okay with it, but I had a problem with it. So accessibility, even as an adult, when I would go to school, I had to pick. I had to talk to the school, maybe to put my class in a particular place, so that it does not shift, which is easier as I got older, maybe in secondary and after secondary school.
So just to put it in context, that for as long as I'm in, P3, this is going to be here.
Kind of, no. When I was young, I could walk on my own.
Okay.
So through primary school, I didn't have really a hard time.
So secondary.
And even in secondary school, I did not have a hard time. But like for the dormitory, they would always put me in the nearest dormitory to the class, so that I don't have to walk a long way. And when I would have a fracture in between somewhere, they would shift me from this place to another one, which is even more accessible. Okay. And I was taught to advocate for myself as a child. So I'm the kind of person going to talk to the headmaster and tell them, maybe this is not working for me, can we please make an adjustment? When I didn't have really a hard time when I was younger. I struggled with the bathrooms mostly, so I would have to do my business at home. I was in the school. At home, and when I go back home.
Wow, so the whole day you are
and this is something I've continued doing even as an adult. If I'm in some parts of Kampala, I will not almost drink anything because I don't have an accessible bathroom. But I'm used to it. Is it comfortable? No. But this is what works, so I'll have to go with that. So when I was in school, I would talk with the bathrooms and the classes. But the school, they would normally put me in the stream, which favors my accessibility. Let's say when I would go in S1, they'll put like, the one who doesn't have stairs is where I would be put.
Okay.
Something like that, so they would work around my needs.
Okay.
And when I was in university, when I went to Makerere, now I was thrown into the real world. Going to Makerere, I struggled so much, so I had to go to the academic registrar. I went to the dean. I saw everyone I had to see until they put my class in a specific place.
Because I know with Makerere, my experience there was you move from tech, then you have one class.
Yeah, I was doing quantitative economics, so I would have one class at stat or math, another class maybe at tech, another class at a cement building. Would move up
Those
and
are
down,
distances, yes.
And it affected me so much. So sometimes I would have to cut a class because it would be so far, and then I'll miss this bit and I will join the next one. So I would walk towards the next one and leave the other one.
So when you spoke to them, what did they do? Did they do anything?
I was a day student. I was on government sponsorship. And the day students kept on were like nomadic. They would move up and down through the university. I couldn't handle. So I was put on the evening program.
Okay.
The evening program, they would have to move maybe to two places just, or sometimes they're in one specific place. And when I talked to them, they accommodated me.
Okay.
It was unheard of a Gambian student being on the evening scheme,
Yeah.
but I did evening 3 years.
Wow.
And because I went after, I actually asked for it. It was not there, but if you can ask, you can get that thing. So it's something that I'm used for. If you need something, you have to go out and ask for it.
People need to speak up.
People need to speak up.
Did you ever get bullied in school? Or did you ever have people just stare at you to a point of uncomfortability?
I've been bullied, but not physically.
Okay.
And thank God, because if I was picked and dropped, we don't know what would have right? My bones break easily. So that didn't happen. But kids would laugh at me and point at me when I was in the lower classes. The staring has not stopped until today. If I go into any building, any hotel, any office, I'm going to be stared at. I even have no problem with that. I'm used to it. I'm 36, so it has been happening all my life. But my problem is not the children. My problem is the adults.
But what are they staring at?
Maybe my awesomeness. It's what I like to think. No, but they're staring at me being different.
I told you when you walked in, I didn't understand.
Maybe you're seeing me on another level. You're not just seeing the physical. Me, you're seeing more than the physical. But most people focus on why is she in a wheelchair, or how come she's short, or something. And my shortness cannot be easily seen now because I'm seated. It is more evident when I'm standing. People laugh, people point at you. Kids, not mostly kids who ask me these days, why are you fat? Why are you short? Did your hands shrink? Things like that. I'm just curiosity. I don't even take any offense. I mean, my kids from my own family are asking me why they're outgrowing me these days. So we have these conversations on why I'm a little person and I don't grow as fast as them, and I have like a magical thing where I grow really slowly, and some of them want also to grow slowly now so that we can stay in this same thing. The adults are the problem. When I find people, I find a lady and she has maybe her kids, and the kids are looking at me, maybe they're looking at the wheelchair or they're looking at me because I'm different. Most parents, especially the ladies, unfortunately, will want to switch the child. Don't stare at the lady, don't disturb her, don't touch her, don't do anything. But that sends a wrong message to a child. You're telling a child that there is something wrong with this woman who is sitting in a wheelchair, or this person who is different. I would rather that the parent allows the child to interact with me. They ask that small things. Why are you fat? Why don't you walk? How do you go to the bathroom? But it's just curiosity. And as you explain, maybe they want to touch the wheelchair, and boys like to play with the wheels. I have another wheelchair which is red. Sometimes the girls like the red color, the very young kids. But adults, and this is all sorts of adults, they will point at you and whisper and laugh. Some people these days want to take out their phone and take a picture. If I'm in a restaurant or I'm out with some people, and it's not nice. It is rude.
I mean, I can sort of begin to see where a woman with a child will, because maybe they think the child is disturbing you or something, but people taking out their phones
and people pointing at you and people kind of like whispering and laughing. I see it all the time. Not everyone has a thick skin that I have. Like I said, I normally assume people are looking at my awesomeness because I'm always like well put together. So I'm like, I'm giving them something to look at.
Well put together.
But not everyone is like me. Some people even fear to go out.
What do you say when people point and you see them
sometimes
taking
when someone is like a distance and it's an adult and they are maybe staring at me, I stay and smile, I wave at them, I say hello. That makes them feel awkward and uncomfortable. Maybe they're going to move on. I'm used to now being the person who starts the conversation. So whenever you find me, and this is something my friends and my young siblings don't like, I almost greet everyone that I meet. I'm that person who greets almost anyone and everyone, so that disarms the other person.
Yeah.
But then again, they will say, okay, she can also talk or something like that. And then they're going to go on their business. But this is Asha who can handle that. Other people fear even to go out. I know friends who say, no, I can't go out. People stare and all those people. People are being made to feel uncomfortable. And kept out of society because of how society looks at us, which is not right.
Actually, we're going to take another break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about inclusivity, which I know is something that is very, very key for you, and you're passionate about it. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Secondary, where I would give answers and teachers would say, hey, you, on the first time when they didn't know, why are you not standing up? And other students would say, she's up. And I would prove to the teacher that I'm actually up, and I would come in the in-front seat. I first put habits of getting angry over teasing aside, because I realized that when you are a person with a disability and you actually easily get angered, people will take advantage of you. But when they try to tease you, try to bring also jokes to tease them, but in a good way. I've worked in different organizations, and currently I am working with BRAC. And I want to appreciate BRAC for giving me the opportunity to work to them. Despite of the disability or the nature, they do not consider that. When it came to interview, it was all about what can you perform, what can you deliver. For them, they were not about disability and the performance. They looked at the intelligence first, and that is what every organization should first consider. Consider what someone can deliver, not their physical appearance, not their disability. What can they deliver? The organization is about delivering and achieving.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We're in the studio tonight with Asha Namatovu. Asha, when did it occur to you that you were a little person?
I think when I was in my P1, when I was about 6. And I think that is when the average child asks these questions, because I'm realizing my nieces mostly asking me when they're about 6, how come my hands are longer than yours? How come you're shorter? You're not as tall. Are you young? How old are you? Things like that. So a child will realize at about 6 years that they're different.
Okay. Are there benefits to being a little person that you'd like to share with us?
Definitely. I think in my case, it has been good being little. When I was in school, I'd be at the front, like of the assembly, at the front of the movies. I would be in a school and I would sit with the senior sixes who sit at the front.
Okay.
This one's unfortunately would sit at the back. So I would sit with the S6s and the prefects at the first line. I wouldn't have to stand in line. I really have to introduce myself twice. Like if I've come here, I come here a little bit, so when I'm like at your gate, like VIP, they actually know me, something like that. So they're really packs. Yeah, you're not going to, if I'm taking a picture, I'm going to be in the front. You see?
Okay.
So that is one of the advantages. But for me as Asha, I've also been blessed and privileged. I don't know whether that has to do with because I'm different, but I get love and opportunities wherever I go.
What's the downside to being a little person? And I know that a lot of it is about, people excluding.
The downside mostly is the stigma.
Yeah.
But also the environment. We live in an environment that was designed for someone like of your height. So the furniture is for someone who is over the height. The bathrooms, oh my God, the bathrooms. People don't know these things. Bathrooms, the toilet seat is like climbing a mountain.
The ATMs.
The ATMs, we have to rely on someone to withdraw the money for us. So we are at the mercy of that person's integrity. Looking for buttons in the elevators, the door handles, the light switches.
Reception.
I've always hated being in front of those high counters. So whenever I got someplace, and because I'm really a very assertive person, okay, some people think I'm like stubborn. I don't go where, like in the entry where the person said, I go to the side, like where they pass to in the line, so they can talk to me face to face almost.
What do you do in a banking hall?
I do, like I said, I'm very assertive. But when I come into the bank, I have to go to the teller, let's say, to withdraw money or to deposit. This is if I need like maybe a huge sum of money, because
Yeah.
other money I use the ATM, and mobile money has really helped someone like me
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Most of my money is kept on mobile money. But if I go to the bank, then like my personal assistant will help me to hand over maybe the money to the person, and maybe they get, maybe if I have like to deposit, and then I write on the paper, then they put it back. So I have assistance.
Okay.
It would be really good if there was in public spaces, if things would be accommodative. I don't know why they have to put like that high
Very
counter.
high.
What is it for? I don't know. It could help if it was a bit low and you don't feel intimidated to kind of like raise above your head to get something handed to you, or
That's true.
things like
And
that.
it would then be extremely difficult for you to use public means as well.
Fortunately, I don't use them, but it is a struggle to get into the taxi
Yeah.
and to get out, as you can see. Public transport is really a menace for little people.
Talk to me about employment, and now we're talking about inclusion.
Yes.
Employment for little people. What does that look like? What does employment look like? What does community integration look like? What does education look like?
For education, I don't think we need to discuss whether everyone has to go to school. It is really important. It is one of the biggest gifts that my parents gave me. It has empowered me so much that I can sit in any space and speak my mind because I went to school.
Yeah.
But schools are not as accommodative as we would like them to be. So for a parent, they would have to choose a school depending on the needs of their particular child. There are kids who need specialized schools. There are kids who can go to mainstream. I went to mainstream schools, and it was good. So you need to look at what your child needs specifically to know the school.
Yeah.
And it is important that everyone goes to school. Now that everyone has gone to school, we assume that when we come out, we are going to go to work. But not everyone is going to hire me, because when people look at me, or someone like me, they only see the disability. They look at the wheelchair and they think that is all I am. Here I am coming with my quantitative economics and SCC and CPAU, and I did very well in all. But when people see me, when people would get the CV, they assume it belongs to someone else. So when I show up, they are taken back by who owns the CV. But again, because the places we are supposed to work in are not accessible. There are no ramps, there are no elevators. So here you are with your qualifications, but there is no job.
Not many employers are willing to make the sacrifice.
And people think it's expensive to customize the place. So we are struggling, we are being locked out. We've gotten the education, that is a very good thing, but we still being locked out because of the environment itself, but because also of the attitudes. Some people think maybe someone like me should not be seen in the office. Some people think maybe someone like me should be kept at home. People still have those mentalities. So we need a culture shift around inclusion.
Yeah.
That we look at it that a person is different, they go to school. And then when they get out of school, they can get a job. And hopefully after the job, they can get married if they want. But again, society looks at what can a person with a disability do. They look at the disability and not the abilities. Most of us are really qualified. We know what we are doing, but society is not aware. Society still thinks we are just what we look like or what we seem not to have. So we need people to be aware. We need people to be accepting.
Mindsets are such a big deal.
Yes.
And we focus on every other kind of education and not that shift that you're talking about.
Yes.
What
And
was
it is
your...
important, sorry.
No, please, carry on.
And it is important that people at home, parents can teach their children that the children who are different, and they even encourage their children to make friends with people like that.
Yeah.
It is also important for a parent that, I'm not saying you go out and pick out all people who are different. Don't go recruiting people with disabilities as your friends, but be open. You can find someone who has a disability but who also has similar interests, maybe similar aspirations, maybe similar career goals. And with your child, because for people in my family and the children in my family, and there are so many, and auntie with so many nieces and nephews, and for the children of my friends that I've grown up with, they don't say anything different about me. Of course, initially like, auntie, did your hands shrink? Auntie, why don't you move? Can I use the wheelchair? Can I move with it? okay, let me take away your frame. How are you going to move? You have to stand, things like that. But at the end of that day, they are growing up knowing that there is Auntie Asha, who is little, who uses a wheelchair, and they've accepted it. I don't think such a child will go and discriminate against someone who looks like me in the future or anywhere where they go.
They'll know better. And I think one of the things that I've picked from you today is because I'm thinking, I would think that my child was disturbing you by, you know, coming to your wheelchair and asking things.
You let the child engage the person. They can just say a simple hello.
Yeah.
And I say hello back. It's okay. And I'm not speaking for other people with disabilities, other little people, but personally as Asha, I welcome that exchange because I want us to raise kids, a generation where they don't see the difference.
Yeah. What was it like for you meeting other little people? Did you seek them out?
Definitely.
What was it like for you?
Like I told you, I was raised in a family of average size people. All my friends were average size. I did not have a friend who has a disability. I had the same struggles growing up as other girls my age. But there are other things that come because I'm different. My friends would not understand. And because of the way I'm being open about what I went through and my kind of mental health and things like that, my friends are like, but we never saw that. We've never, and you're making us feel terrible that we could not see those other things. And maybe I hid them very well. But because I was privileged and blessed, I said, what can I do to help other people who are like me? And how was I going to represent other people who are like me when I don't even have a friend who is different? So I deliberately started looking for people who are little. I made contacts and I eventually found a group. We have an organization called the Foundation of Persons Affected by Dwarfism in Uganda. It's headed by a gentleman called Joel Musana. And I've been helping them doing like that advocacy because I realized that I had certain skills that they needed. So I'm helping them and even other women who are like me to come out and make ourselves visible, show the world that we can do stuff. We are normal. But I've been finding it a challenge that most people who are different, and because of the way society has treated them, they're withdrawn and they feel less than, and they're not as confident, they're not as assertive, they will not even talk about their needs. So for me, like I told you, it's not hard for me to ask. It's not hard for me to ask for what I want. And I do not have a problem meeting anyone, you see? So I'm trying to help and raise the other women and empower them. I talk to them about like looking good. I'm like, okay, you don't have to wear makeup, or but you have to make an effort. You see, as a girl, I'm a girl who likes to look good, or a woman who likes to look good. So I'm like, okay, at least maybe smile, or maybe do your hair in a certain way, or things like
all
that.
This skill. Look at your public speaking abilities. I hope you're teaching that as well.
Oh, Josephine, I thought like I actually thought like I suckered.
No,
I know I overtalk. I know I overtalk, but I don't know that I'm good at it. But I know that I want to say I'm a friendly person and very open, and also that has helped me to spread this awareness much easily. Yeah.
I think you're one of the most positive people that I've met, especially before I met you, I was on your Facebook pages, just reading through the things that you post.
I'm a very spiritual person. In the Quran, there is a verse where God says that He shall not burden you beyond what you can bear. So I believe that I was created in this image and given these sets of challenges, but also abilities to be able to do this kind of thing that I'm doing right now. To be able to speak for people who are like me, but maybe were not as assertive, as open, because some people find it intrusive to put themselves out there. But I think that we need to do that. So for me, like I said, I wasn't always accepting of me. But as I've gotten older, I'm also accepting the weight. I'm struggling with that one. But the other bits, I'm okay with it. And I feel like I cannot hide from the disability of that being little. It is part of me, but it is not all of me. It does not define me much as it is a big part of me. So I think God has put me in this particular seat, this particular image, for purpose, to help others.
Purposeful living. I like that you're using your social media pages, you know, just to empower people and to create awareness.
It was a way to reach like a wider audience
Yeah.
without moving to every persons. But I want to do more. Definitely reaching out schools, and I'm passionate about the inclusive employment. So I'm going around talking to different stakeholders, talking to people with disability themselves, talking to parents.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I want parents to give their children with disabilities that chance that my parents gave me. My mother is a teacher, and my father believed in me so much. Apparently, I was his favorite child. Okay, it's not here, so we cannot confirm.
I mean, and everybody else has had you.
Everyone knows that. It's true. Unfortunately, to some people who don't want to hear it, but yeah. But it has helped. So parents should not be embarrassed of their children with disabilities.
Yeah.
They can do amazing things.
Asha, we've run out of time, but
Yeah.
I want you in 1 minute to say what our takeaway should be from meeting with you and listening to you speak. What is the most important thing you want us to take away from this conversation?
That being a little person means I'm only shorter than you. And that's the only difference. Otherwise, I'm just like you in all other aspects.
All right, you can go to Asha's social media platforms. Asha Namatovu, I know there's a middle name.
Asha Ajirish Namatov, and I also have an inclusive employment campaign called Napeto Sogola with Asha Namatov, which is advocating for inclusion of all people with disabilities in the workplace.
Thank you so much, Asha, and that brings us to the end of our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Coming up is NTV Weekend Edition.